Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Chloe must have thought she is good enough and pays scant regard to me. Looking at the self-satisfied Miley, Damien had a faint sense of helplessness and disgust in his eyes behind the gold-framed glasses. Chloe followed behind Alberto. Alberto felt at ease handling the guests at the first few tables. But the further he went, the more difficult it was for Alberto to cope. When he came to the fourth table, no one was willing to talk to him. Chloe held the wineglass in her hand with resentment. This was the first time she had ever been given the cold shoulder. She raised her head in hatred, wanting to take a look at these people. Inadvertently, she seemed to see someone she knew. "Isn't that Snow?" Chloe turned and wanted to leave. She almost immediately wanted to pull the ring off her finger, but the more anxious she was, the more difficult it was to take the ring off. Snow was following Harvey, who was having a chat with the VIPs at the third table. Her eyes widened in surprise when she saw Chloe. "Chloe? Who?" Harvey looked back, raising an eyebrow when he saw Chloe. He once met this woman in Nottingbrook State, not expecting that she was also from the Riddle family. He turned to glance at Snow and tilted his head slightly. "Do you want to go over and say hello?" Snow, who seemed to have seen Chloe struggle at the fourth table, was sitting at the third table, enjoying the compliments of the people around her. She could not help but think of showing off. So when she heard what Harvey said, she nodded almost immediately. Why not? The two of them got up and walked toward the fourth table. Seeing Snow approach, Chloe almost wanted to turn around and leave. At this moment, a hoarse and magnetic female voice suddenly came from behind her. The voice was special, obviously a smoky voice, much like the voice of a successful person. "Thank you all for coming to the Holder mansion for the party held for Lloyd, who has just returned." Harvey did not look back. When he heard this familiar voice, he had a disdainful look in his eyes. The reason the Holder family had become so successful so quickly was inseparable from the Ellison family. Snow was puzzled and wanted to look back, but she dared not, as Harvey did not move. Chloe heard clearly the name that Nichelle had mentioned and stopped dead in her tracks, then looked back in disbelief. The man who stood on the stage was none other than Lloyd, whom she had taunted last time. He was unsmiling, with extraordinary grace and poise. Lloyd disregarded those gazes around him, his eyes scanning over the crowd, and he spotted someone he knew. Lloyd looked at the girl from behind and frowned, then ignored Nichelle, who was speaking, and walked off the stage toward the third and fourth tables. Everyone looked at Lloyd with surprise, as they did not expect that he would be so rude to Nichelle in public. But Nichelle did not mind. She was looking at her son dotingly and continued speaking, as if she had not been interrupted. "My son is back, and I hope everyone can see clearly that he is my future successor." Seeing Lloyd run toward hers, Chloe raised her head and was filled with excitement. "I didn't expect that Lloyd would still come to me despite how I treated him last time. I knew he was genuine when he looked at me in Nottingbrook State. His affectionate gaze almost drowned me. That look in his eyes could not possibly be fake." Thinking of this, Chloe waited confidently for Lloyd, standing calmly in place, with pride in her eyes. "I didn't expect that Lloyd was from the Holder family. So even if there is still a gap between the Holder and the Johnston families, the Holder family is still in the same league as the Ellison family, which means they can compete with the Johnston family. I will have everything to gain and nothing to lose to be together with Lloyd." Alberto looked curiously at his granddaughter and then at Lloyd, who was approaching in a hurry. "What's going on, Chloe? You and Lloyd know each other." Chloe slowly and reticently glanced at Lloyd and nodded. "That's right, Lloyd is coming for me, obviously. There is nothing wrong for me to admit in advance." Alberto's face changed instantly. He looked at his granddaughter with pride in her eyes. The guests at the fourth table had also heard the conversation between Alberto and Chloe. When they saw Chloe's sworn expression, they were a little confused. Could she actually know the guy from the Holder family? Did we miss something here? Seeing that Lloyd was getting closer, many people became a little restless. They looked at Chloe from time to time, almost wanting to say something flattering to Chloe. But Lloyd stopped before he reached the fourth table. "Turn around." Everyone heard his voice, which was soft. He was anxious and did not feel the joy of finding her. This back of hers. Snow wanted to look back, but when she saw Harvey's face, she froze. "Can you please turn around?" Lloyd spoke again, his voice gentle and pleasant yet had a faint hint of anxiety. Harvey did not know what Lloyd's intention was, but he turned around with a smile, looked at Lloyd, and said meaningfully, "Snow, didn't you hear Lloyd call you? Turn around." Only then, Snow turned around cautiously. She looked slightly stunned when she saw the face of the man across from her. The man had a prominent nose, deep-set eyes, and a sharp face as if he had undergone the most ingenious carving of the gods. Isn't he the movie star on the silver screen? Snow did not expect him to be from the Holder family. Snow instantly blushed at seeing that he was looking at her. She did not dare to look him in the eyes, just feeling that Lloyd and Harvey looked similar to some extent. Before she could even feel puzzled, Lloyd spoke with a frosty voice, "You're not her." His tone of voice seemed a little disappointed. "Of course, she is abroad all this while. And no way she will appear he." Then, instead of turning around, he walked straight back to Nichelle without looking back. Chloe looked awkward, her expression freezing, and she clenched her hands. Why would Lloyd ask Snow to turn around, but he didn't bother to look at me? She could almost hear the mocking laughter around her. Chloe finally could not bear it. She reached out her hand to try to grab Lloyd, who was walking forward, the huge diamond on her finger glittering in under the chandelier. Chloe was not conscious of this. She had lost her deportment entirely as she just wanted to grab the man in front of her. Alberto did not manage to stop her but watched her make such a disrespectful move. While Snow was staring at Lloyd from behind, she seemed to feel a familiar flash of light in front of her eyes, but she just could not take her eyes off Lloyd. She looked at Lloyd with emotions, as if she felt he had a very unusual feeling for her. What kind of girl could cause such a man to search and wait for her tirelessly? The thought of the girl causing such a wonderful man to become infatuated with her made Snow jealous. While all eyes were on the farce here, the door behind them suddenly opened, and soon a brisk and schadenfreude voice came. "It's been a while since we last met, Mr. Holder." Everyone was stunned at hearing the voice. Nichelle lowered her arm almost immediately and quickly adjusted her expression to reveal a solemn and gentle smile. Everyone looked back. As they were facing the light, they could not see who was at the door. But when they saw Claus's attitude, almost everyone realized who it was. It was Jared from the Johnston family. Wait a second. He didn't come alone. Many people looked at the shadow next to the man, their eyes widening as they tried to take a closer look at her, wondering which woman had such an honor of accompanying Jared. Everyone knew Jared was notorious for his sexual abstinence. They could not believe that Jared would bring a female companion. Jared and the woman walked in slowly, and their faces finally appeared in front of everyone. People were full of surprise. Jared was undeniably the best-looking man in San Joto, and he always attracted attention wherever he went. But this time, people's attention was subconsciously distracted by the girl standing next to him. As handsome as Jared was, he did not steal the slightest limelight from the girl next to him. She was beautiful. Her eyes were slightly upturned, her demeanor cold, and she looked like a beautiful hibiscus with the coldness of a purple iris. The black Victorian dress did not look out of place on her. She seemed to be a princess from that era, with innate dignity, who came to this world. Everyone found themselves tongue-tied for a good while. They could only look at the two and listen to the surprise welling up in their throats. Both Snow and Chloe's attention were instantly attracted by the two. As they looked at the girl beside Jared, the raging flames of jealousy rose in their eyes. Why can't this Nicole just go away? Nichelle Holder smiled graciously at Jared, and when she turned her eyes to his side, she was stunned. Stunned alongside her was Harvey. He looked on at the young lady beside Jared. Deep yet difficult to put to words, emotions welled within his eyes. Such a beautiful woman should be mine. He had never felt that Jared was so unsightly that he could not bear it any longer. Harvey immediately walked over and Snow, who was staring at his back, yelled angrily at him. "Harvey, where are you going?" Harvey ignored her, his eyes seemingly being shrouded by a layer of black fog, and his entire person became extremely morose. "She is mine, and I'm going to take her back to my side." Yet, The moment he moved, there was someone who moved much faster than he did. Lloyd's pupils contracted violently the moment he saw the person come in. He had been tracing her face on many of his sleepless nights. He would never fail to recognize that face. This was his sin and his love, his salvation when he was in a dire situation. Everyone saw that the man, who was so inhumanly indifferent, was walking anxiously toward Jared's side. He looked at the girl with a look of serious reverence, his voice mixed with a sigh-like tone. "I finally found you, Doctor." Harvey was about 10 meters behind the person, and when he saw Lloyd kneeling down before Nicole, he was stunned. What is going on here? Lloyd, at this very moment, made a very passionate invitation to Nicole. "You finally deigned to appear. Please come back to my side, my partner." Everyone was shocked by this sudden turn of events. They had never expected the heir to the Holder family would say such a thing to a girl on such an occasion. This was almost akin to a grand declaration of love. Chloe looked at this scene before her and felt that her action in pulling Lloyd made her look like a clown earlier. It was both hilarious and ironic. To think that she had told Alberto earlier that Lloyd was here for her was now a total joke. She slowly put her hand down, and her nails bit deep into her palm, yet she was unaware of the pain. "It's that Nicole again." Harvey instantly stopped as the look in his eyes could not suppress the swirling emotions in it. Was he supposed to be glad, or was he supposed to be surprised? He knew that Lloyd was looking for someone, but he did not know that the person Lloyd was looking for was Nicole. Claus looked at Lloyd and raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Wow, this Holder kid actually dared to do this before my boss. This is way overboard." Looking at these deep affectionate eyes and the scorching hot words, if he was Nicole, he would have been moved. Claus subconsciously turned around to look at Jared's expression. If there was a need, he would straight away kill this man, who had clearly crossed the line under his boss' instruction. Yet, he only saw that Jared was slowly pulling Nicole's hands up. His handsome face was layered with frost. The moment he turned to Nicole, however, it disappeared. He smiled as he turned Nicole toward him and asked gently, "Are you going with him?" Nicole looked at Jared's extremely immaculate face in a daze. The stray hairs on his forehead were combed back, revealing his full forehead. His eyes were rolling with imperceptible emotions as if something was raging inside, much akin to the coming of a storm. The place was so quiet that one could hear the sound of a falling pin. "What is this? The young masters of both the Johnston and the Holder family are competing for a woman? And the young master of the Ellison family wants to interfere as well?" Many women looked enviously at Nicole, wishing that they could be in her place instead. Many interest groups looked at the scene, thinking about how to extract a bigger benefit out of this. Nicole ignored them as she held Jared's hand holding her face, and then she turned toward Lloyd, who was down on one knee before her. Everyone heard her calm voice, and it was so clear even in this hall that it had gone from being silent to cacophonous. "I was never yours, Lloyd. So, where did this talk of me coming back to you come from?" After hearing Nicole's rather direct words, everyone's eyes widened in surprise. The young master of the Holder family was rejected just like that. Many of the ladies were cursing Nicole's ignorance, but even some men muttered secretly to themselves. Regardless of anything else, no matter how powerful the Johnston family is, Jared's position as heir of the family is still not assured. While Lloyd had just been personally named as heir by Nichelle Holder earlier, and his position was secured, so normally one would choose Lloyd instead, right? Thinking of this, they looked at Nicole in contempt. This woman is really not smart enough. Harvey looked at the scene before him, and he watched as Lloyd slowly got up without any change to his expression. An inexplicable glint appeared in his eyes. He wanted to know how Lloyd would react in this situation. Lloyd's eyes never left Nicole for even a single moment. He seemingly did not mind being rejected as he just gently let out a smile. In an instant, a veil of light seemingly fell upon him as if the clouds had rolled and parted, revealing a bright radiance. "It's all right," he said gently, I will wait for you to return to me, and before that..." Lloyd's eyes finally moved away from Nicole as he looked at Jared, whose mood was nigh indistinguishable, as the smile on his face slowly faded away. "So, you must promise me that you will not be at his side." When Jared heard him call Nicole that, there was a fluctuation in his emotions. He looked on thoughtfully at Lloyd. The latter was very calm, seemingly very proud because he shared a secret with Nicole. The smile on his face widened, so attractive it was difficult to avert one's gaze. No wonder this woman chose Mr. Johnston. Everyone looked at this beautiful man and could not help but hold their breaths. Jared's face was really a killer. Jared did not seem to care what the others were thinking. He looked at Lloyd before him. His voice suddenly turned icy, like a blade ripping into the latter's flesh, causing a storm of blood to form. Speaking of which, it seems like you don't know her name at all. Lloyd's expression instantly stiffened. He had known Nicole for so many years now, yet he did not know her real name. At this moment, his expression instantly solidified into hoarfrost as he looked at Jared with a look of indifference. A name or a codename is just a symbol to call her and to define her. He looked at Jared, the killing intent in his eyes palpable. I don't need to know. Claus almost wanted to laugh as he looked at Lloyd, gritting his head and thought to himself, "Bro, if you don't need to know, why are you so mad then?" Jared looked at Lloyd. The latter's words caused his rage to dissipate almost instantly, leaving only a little bemusement. He gently squeezed Nicole's hand and slightly raised his eyebrow. "It's good if you have that conviction in you." He then walked away from Nicole, and as he walked before Lloyd, he did not stop and kept walking. The moment he passed the latter by, he left a sentence in Lloyd's ears. "She is mine." Lloyd let out an imperceptible frown as he held his hand out, wanting to catch Nicole, who was passing him by. Nicole did not look at him and simply just shifted sideways to dodge his grasp. Her gaze was indifferent, with scant emotions in her eyes. She gently nodded at Lloyd and did not look at him again. When Harvey saw this, a smile finally appeared in his eyes. "Just look, no one can catch Nicole. Even if that damned immaculate Lloyd is the same." Lloyd pulled his hand back as he looked in the direction of the girl. No one knew what he thought as he quickly followed after her. Nichelle had seen what her son did. She frowned a little but soon noticed that her son was walking toward her. A look of joy flashed across her eyes. Although the girl had not agreed to her son's request, her existence, after all, made this banquet far more meaningful. She had promised Lloyd to look for her, and now that he had found her, then Lloyd will need to come back to inherit the family business. The reason she became a director was because of her son, but this nonsense should come to an end. He should now return to the business and help take her career to another level. After all, the Johnston family was secretly getting stronger and stronger, while her family was still staying stagnant. Recalling White, who had failed, a cold glint appeared in Nichelle's eyes as she looked extremely icily at Jared for an instant. Why did he attend this banquet then? Jared did not look back, but Claus glanced thoughtfully at Nichelle with a slightly puzzled look in his eyes. "What's the matter, madam? You don't seem very happy to see Mr. Johnston here. Weren't you the one who sent us the invitation, and now that we're here, you're feeling displeased?" Nicole gave Nichelle a faint look of indifference as a thought crossed her mind. The direction of Warbler's code was indeed toward the Holder family, but she had no idea what sort of entanglement they had with Jared, so much so that even White was deployed to attack these G-grade drugs. When Nichelle heard Claw's words, the expression on her face immediately turned genial as she gently looked at Jared and smiled at him. "Of course not. Mr. Johnston's attendance is an honor to the Holder family." As she said that, she lifted the glass in her hand and slightly raised it toward Jared, her movement extremely gentle. "Mr. Johnston, please have a seat." Jared gave her an impassive look before looking at Lloyd, who was now standing by her side, as some kind of emotion flashed across his face. He casually grabbed a glass of wine from the waiter beside him and gave Nichelle a distant cheer. He then swirled the glass, and like Nichelle, he did not even drink the liquid. They had been so used to maintaining this superficial peace. It would not come apart so suddenly. When Harvey saw what was going on, a warm smile appeared on his face, yet the emotions in his eyes were indiscernible. He watched as Jared took Nicole to sit at the first table at the center, and he went back to his own table. Instantly, the tables were filled, leaving only the two master seats empty. There were, however, no signs of the Rogers family members at the first table. Alberto obviously noticed this as he was a little surprised to see that after Nichelle and Lloyd took their seats, the table was filled, yet his second brother was not among them. He then slowly realized that something was wrong. No matter how useless he was, everyone would still offer him a smile on the grace of the Rogers family's name. There was nothing like today where he was outright ignored, making it difficult for him to make any moves. What was even weirder was that his two nephews were not here either, or even that Sean, the favorite son of Christo, was nowhere to be found. What was going on? At this very moment, Chloe was clenching her fists tightly as she looked at Nicole sitting between Jared and Lloyd. The look in her eyes was as if she wanted to flay Nicole alive. Those two men should have been mine. She walked toward Nicole almost uncontrollably. Alberto frowned as he was pondering what was going on and did not notice her movements. By the time he realized it, Chloe had already made her way to Jared and Lloyd's side as she stretched her hand out to pull Nicole. It was already too late for Alberto to stop her, as he could only look at the granddaughter he had always been proud of, scaring him witless. Nicole had already noticed Chloe's movements long ago. She calmly turned around and dodged Chloe's outstretched hand. Her eyes immediately turned icy as she grabbed the latter's arm. Snow followed Harvey over to sit there. She was looking both angrily and enviously at Nicole and, seeing Chloe's outstretched hand, and secretly cheered for the latter. Let's have Chloe deal with Nicole. When Lloyd saw what Chloe did, a tinge of anger appeared on his warm face. Just as he wanted to say something, Nicole had already spoken, her tone rather icy. Chloe, do not piss me off again. Snow could not hold it in any longer as she looked at the dignitaries at the table and spat. Nicole, you're saying Chloe is pissing you off? You are the one with an attitude issue. Not only you are out there being a vixen, you even steal. Someone should have dealt with you long ago. As she said that, she thought that everyone would have a bad impression of Nicole as she waited triumphantly. To her dismay, however, she found that no one believed her at all. Every single one of them was looking at Nicole, as all of them ignored both Snow and Chloe. Snow felt extremely embarrassed, and as she wanted to say something else in a fit of anger, Lloyd's impassive gaze swept over. As he looked at Snow spouting all that, he frowned. Why would S do such a thing? This woman is clearly bullshitting. He spoke calmly, his eyes tranquil, yet there was a deep, icy chill to it. Miss, please do not slander someone like that, or else I will have to ask you to leave. Nichelle did not say anything. She had never refuted Lloyd's words. Snow's eyes widened as she looked at Lloyd in disbelief, her eyes filled with the look of being wronged. How can you say that about me? Nicole is a thief that stole my things. Look at how she made you guys fall head over heels for her. Isn't she promiscuous? Not too far away, Gary, who had come with the Finley family, was looking at Nicole with a very complicated look. She was exceptionally beautiful today, it was impossible to avert his eyes. But upon seeing Lloyd's actions, he was not sure what was his relationship with Nicole. Ryder, sitting by his side, noticed his little brother's dull mood. He gently prodded the latter and whispered, "Isn't that the girl whose details I could not find no matter what I did? Didn't you say her signature matches your idol? Go and ask her then." Gary shook his head as he clenched his fist tightly. Thinking of how he had treated Nicole earlier, he dared not ask the question. If she really is my idol, I really have no idea how to look at her in the eyes. At this moment, Nicole looked at the defiant Snow, her expression impassive, yet her voice was cold. Snow, have a good look. What's this thing on Chloe's finger? Chloe listened to what Snow said triumphantly, and at the same time, she was furious at Lloyd for speaking up for Nicole. Upon hearing what Nicole said, she was stunned. Yeah, I was so angry just now I forgot I was still wearing this. She had not had the time to take the ring off her finger. Thinking of this, Chloe immediately wanted to take the ring off her finger. However, Nicole's hand, while slender, was extremely powerful, and even with her face flushed in strain, she could not pull her hands out of Nicole's grasp. When Snow heard what Nicole said, she glanced suspiciously at Chloe's hand. She immediately saw the ring on the latter's finger, and there was a huge diamond inlaid on the ring. It was the diamond she could not be more familiar with. Snow looked at Chloe in disbelief, and Chloe, having known that she had been discovered, gave up struggling as she looked icily at Snow and spoke first. What? What's wrong with my hand? Snow's eyes widened. She did not expect Chloe to be able to say something so shameless. She immediately stood up straight as she hissed with furious anger, "You have the cheek to say that? The diamond on your ring is mine. Chloe, why did you steal my diamond?" Chloe sneered as she subconsciously tried to pull her hand away, yet she still found her hand unmoving, and the expression on her face stiffened. The eyes of everyone around fell on her. Nichelle looked at that familiar-looking pink diamond, and she raised her eyebrows gently as she looked at Harvey, whose expression remained unchanged. Jared, who was looking at the scene, could not help but squint a little. Thinking of how Chloe had coveted the diamond back in Nottingbrook, and what had happened now, he could have guessed it without even thinking. He then looked at Chloe with a faint look of contempt. At this very moment, Nichelle's expression had changed. Is Chloe really a thief? Thankfully, she listened to Lloyd and kicked this woman out of the production crew early. Otherwise, if she was to use such a stained actress as part of her final film, lukewarm, it may very well crash and burn by word of mouth alone. As a person who had been extremely demanding of herself, how could Nichelle allow such a problem to occur? As Nichelle thought of this, her eyes looking at Chloe were so icy that frost could have formed. Chloe did not sense Nichelle's disgust toward her. She had already been so agitated by the scene earlier that her brain was overheating, forgetting that the reason she was here was to get Nichelle to change her opinion of her. Chloe sneered as she looked at Snow. She hissed mockingly, "I was the one who saw the diamond first. It should have been mine." Chloe was the one who saw it first during the auction of the pink diamond, so she thought that it should be hers. However, after returning home, she did some investigation and found that Harvey had given the diamond to Snow. After learning that the pink diamond was lost, she quickly searched all around for it. 2 days ago, she discovered someone had secretly put it up for sale online, and she bought it back at a very high price. So, it was impossible for her to give it back to Snow. Moreover, you've lost the diamond, and I purchased it from someone else. It has nothing to do with you anymore. What sort of logic is this? Snow did not expect Chloe to say that she had bought it. She immediately turned toward Harvey. Yet, the latter did not even cast a glance her way and instead focused his eyes on the hand Nicole was grabbing. Seeing that he refused to help her, she stomped her feet and yelled at Chloe. "Chloe, I never thought that you were such a person. And here I was listening to you. You piss me off." She thought, "This woman purchased my stolen diamond and claimed it as hers. She's totally shameless." Chloe's expression remained unchanged as she looked on sneeringly at Nicole. Since she had already been found out, there was no need to hide anymore. "I've noticed this diamond back in Nottingbrook. You should never have been its master. Look at your gaudy dress and that unstable gait as you walk with those high heels. How are you worthy of such a precious, beautiful diamond?" When Snow was told off by Chloe like that, she was totally stunned. She did not expect the getup that she was so proud of was so mercilessly ripped apart by Chloe. Seemingly sensing the people around her looking at her in contempt, her eyes reddened in exasperation. Yet, before she could say anything else, Chloe mercilessly interrupted her. She looked on pitifully at Snow. "Silly girl, look how Mr. Harvey can't even be bothered to help you, and you actually have the cheek to sit here? Shameless." Just as when she gleefully insulted Snow until the latter had no way to fight back, an extremely icy voice suddenly rang out behind her. "When it comes to being shameless, you are no better." Nicole clasped Chloe's hand with one hand, and with another, she pulled the diamond ring off Chloe's fingers and casually tossed it to Snow before letting the former go. "What's going on? Nicole is helping me." Snow looked at the scene unfolding before her in a daze and could not react to it at all for a good while. Yet, the shiny diamond in her hand told her that she had just been helped by the person she hated the most. Nicole's speed was very fast, and by the time Chloe had reacted, the diamond ring had already flown into Snow's hand. Chloe immediately screamed as she pounced at Nicole. "Batch, give me back my diamond." Everyone was watching the glamorous female star going berserk, and all had a look of shock in their eyes while Alberto almost fainted. What the hell is wrong with Chloe today? Why is she doing all these stupid things? Damien and Miley, standing at the back, saw their enraged daughter with a look of abject horror in their eyes. In their hearts, their daughter was always delicate and noble. She would never go berserk like this. Nicole looked at Chloe, who was like a possessed lunatic, and a look of irritability flashed across her eyes. Yet, before she could even strike back, two arms stretched beside her, stopping Chloe in her tracks. Lloyd looked at Jared, who had also stretched his hands out, but he did not look at him. But instead, he cast his gaze onto Nicole. His eyes were like a storm of ice and fire. Chloe looked at Jared's eyes and finally calmed down. She fearfully looked at everyone around her and saw almost everyone was looking at her with disgust. Nichelle, sitting on the side, issued an ultimatum without any hesitation. "This young lady here is my guest." Nichelle looked at Nicole as she slowly spoke. "And since you actually intend to do her harm, please leave this place on your own accord. Since my son liked this girl, I, of course, need to back her up." When Chloe heard that, she almost wanted to collapse in despair. She shook her head as she pleaded. "No, you cannot do this to me." It was Nicole. She took the diamond away first. "It's her fault. She's a shameless thief. You're being fooled by her. How can you take a country bumpkin as your guest?" Before Nichelle could say anything, Lloyd smirked softly as he slowly let go of Chloe's hand and dropped a bombshell. "A thief? Chloe, I don't know what gave you the courage to accuse Interpol Agent S a thief." "What?" The eyes of everyone looking at Nicole changed, with a thick layer of fear in them. "The world-famous Interpol Agent S is actually this woman?" Claus looked at Nicole. A huge look of surprise was etched upon his face. Back then, the boss had casually mentioned this person to him, yet he totally did not expect her to be right beside him. This was almost like a fantasy. Chloe's expression turned pale as she looked at Nicole and then back at Lloyd as she sneered. "You got to be kidding. How can Nicole be S?" There was no change in Lloyd's eyes as he very calmly took out that photo from his pocket. Chloe had just casually glanced at it, but when she clearly saw what was in the photo, her expression froze. It was actually quite a dated document, and Nicole in the photo was still very young, yet she had that indescribable coldness to her. She was in casual clothes, with the only identification information on it was a simple codename S. Gary looked at S, and his expression instantly became very complicated, as if something was struggling inside him. Yet Nicole's expression did not change at all. She looked at that identification paper in Lloyd's hand, and a nostalgic look appeared in her eyes. "I never thought that you actually kept this thing for me," Nicole said softly. She then looked at Lloyd, her eyes deep yet cold at the same time. "Unfortunately, I'm no longer S."
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.